You are now listening to ForAllNerds Show, a podcast about geek and pop culture from the perspective of people of color. ForAllNerds is hosted by DJ Benhameen and Tatiana Jones. ForAllNerds Show is a member of the Loudspeakers Network, where we always say rest in peace to our founder, Combat Jack.
ForAllNerds Show is powered by our listeners. Everything we do, from our podcasts, live events, our website, are all independently funded. Please continue to support us through our Patreon page at patreon.com/ForAllNerds.
Welcome to the Fan Bros, the show where the bros are fans. Doodle.
Welcome, internets, to a very special session of ForAllNerds. We are calling it Dat Rona. We are here again, myself, Tatiana King, the Grand Duchess of Tech, also with my co-host, DJ Benhameen.
Here.
All right. And also joined by our special in-house science representative, Brandon Ogbunu. Like, I mean, I don't even know what title to give you at this point, because you've worked at like every Ivy League, every school, every school. But we are back again to talk Dat Rona. If you are familiar with us, and you absolutely should be, you know that early on in the beginning of the pandemic, we started having this series where we taught you all about the coronavirus, specifically COVID-19, and all of the changing information and how to protect yourself. And a lot has happened. I mean, it's been like 6 months, right? Since the last time we spoke?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you can imagine, I mean, some of the things we even told you or learned about, I want to say back in the day, even though it was just months ago, but the stuff we learned back in the day may have completely been updated or modified. And I mean, it's another world. We're living in a different world now. So we wanted to get back together, talk some more with everybody, see where everyone's head is at, and also give you some updated information about Dat Rona. Is that right, sir?
That is correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Has it been 6 months?
It really has been.
It's been 6 months since we've done a Dat Rona session.
Wow.
Yeah. And literally that, I mean, I want to say the house, but the world was flipped upside down. It flips again. I feel like the world flipped 20 times in between now and then. And because of that, we got to ask you, Professor Ogbunu, where the hell are we right now?
Well, first of all, thank you again for having me on the show. Thank you all for keeping so many people afloat in this 6 months that has felt like 6 years. I think your positive energy and your courageousness and your willing to speak truth to power, it really has helped. So thank you both so much, and I'm honored to be back. That said, so what I did earlier was I was taking a light jog. It's a little cold out, but it's not so cold. I bundled up and took a little jog, and I listened to a bit of the last episode. Mm-hmm. And just to kind of that last time I was on, rather, just to kind of see where we were back then compared to where we were now. And that was early. I remember you, Tatiana, in particular, were like, how long can we expect to go through this? Right? Like, all right, damn it. Like, I've had enough of this shit. That was the wrong question. I've had enough of this shit already. It was April. We were done. April. Right? And and in hindsight, because you're my friend and you're a person who I want to please. I aim to please. I was like, well, we should aim for 4 to 8 months. I had no fucking idea what I was talking about at that point, and nobody did.
Right.
Nobody did. I think at that point, making any kind of realistic prediction about how long this would have taken back in April or May, I mean, there's just no way. There was no basis upon to make an accurate prediction. And I think I kind of gave a number. Mm-hmm. So 6 months later, I think the part of the reason why we got back in touch and I want and we were like, maybe we should have a conversation is there's been some real movement on things.
Movement.
There's been some movement, right? And I think in particular with regards to a vaccine, which I think really is, which really is for a disease like this, the way you make a sweeping and big, long-lasting impact on a pandemic of this kind. It would be a vaccine. And there are now several candidates. Frankly, to be 100% honest with you, the early data, I'm not sure they can look much better.
Really?
I'm not sure they can look much better. I mean, of course, things can always be perfect.
Right.
But I think it's shocking that, again, it seems like forever, and our lives have been changed, and things have turned over, and we'll get into part of the reason why that is. I think it's because of the political situation, right? It's made it so much worse.
Oh, so
right?
much worse. And it's
Um,
prolonged things.
It's prolonged. It's just there's
Yeah.
this uncertainty. It's like all these
Mhm.
things interact to give us this long-term unease or panic. But from the science itself, I mean, 6 months, the notion of going from, the beginning of the basic science of resolving the genome of the virus and understanding basics about its infection process to multiple vaccine candidates in multiple parts of the world, each of which are 90%, have a 90% or above efficacy. And we'll talk about what that means.
Yeah.
Is shocking. And I think, and that's where we are today. We have multiple, and I think, frankly, there's several things about the science of this type of vaccine technology, which actually makes it easier for us to manufacture them. So I think barring any, and this is the thing with the state of the world now, right? Huge caveat coming. Barring any problems with rollout or administration or politically or what have you.
That's fucking happening. Okay.
Well, right. I mean,
so before we get too deeply into the vaccine stuff, we got to understand where we've been to know where we're going, right? So when we started, we said, I mean, there was not we said, but there was an understanding or an assumed understanding of all sorts of things about the virus, that it lived on all of these different surfaces for a certain amount of time, that you couldn't be within a certain range of certain people. I mean, it was all sorts of stuff that now we've have much more education on. So can you just give us just kind of, I don't even want to say definitive, but a more accurate understanding of how can you get the virus? What do you do to protect yourself? And then we can talk about the vaccine.
Absolutely. So back when I talked to you before, let's talk the basics about how this thing gets around. Back then, it was still mostly unknown. We had some ideas. We know that if you cough in somebody's face, right? We knew the basic things, right? But there was a lot to disentangle with regards to the mechanisms through which this is transmitted. And like you made an allusion to, people were spraying down their Amazon packages and their pizza boxes and putting things in because we were like, yo, you know what I'm saying? And I think that was,
I'm Peoples. I was putting stuff in the microwave.
I mean, I was all there. Like I said, my research group investigates this because this is a problem in infectious diseases in general, and particularly viral infections in general, because viruses can live in the world. So that was a concern about, right? And so people, there was a lot of kind of and I think that in some ways related to the hand washing. I think hand washing has remained an important thing to do, but it was really, 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 really important to wash hands or hand sanitizer if this thing is actually surviving on surfaces. And that's the main way it's getting around. Now, I think 6 months later now, we think that is almost certainly not a major route now. Right. I think there are situations when it can get around that way. Right? If you touch something and you rub your eye or something of that nature,
somebody spits on it.
Somebody spits on, right? But I think that doesn't seem to be like the main way this is getting around. And so that surfaces as a cause of panic that's not justified and supported by the existing data.
Right. What is justified and supported?
What is justified now is the newer debate is the one between so the aerosol versus kind of droplet debates, right? And I think basically those are the idea there is through sneezing and coughing, but even through speaking. Like I'm speaking now, singing. That's right, singing. So any kind of loud vocal projection, right? So there's generates these particles, these aerosol particles. And they are either there are various forms, but some of them are droplets, which means they don't travel very far, but they can travel far enough. That's where the 6 feet distance thing comes from. Okay, so they can travel kind of like a number of feet, and they kind of go to the ground. So they're heavier, and they generate these particles, and they can go 6 feet or so or 10 feet or so, and they hit the ground. And I think that those things can land in faces, those things can land in eyes, those can land in noses, etc. The more contentious part of that is the aerosolization concept, the notion that it's forming these smaller droplets that can travel farther, right? So that's the idea of I can generate something while I'm speaking or singing, and this particle can travel a longer distance, right? And say, for example, if I'm in a room, in a restaurant, for example, and I'm shouting or singing in a restaurant, I could be generating particles that can be transmitted. The understanding now is that both of these things happen. So short-term transmission and aerosol transmission can happen. The small droplet one, the one with 6 feet distancing, that one is probably it's the majority. So most of the transmission events we know of are definitely closer distance ones, which is why social distancing is so fucking important. Right. But I think I think those facts that we know about the way this virus is getting around influence several ways that we think about controlling that we know work. So social distancing, number one, which we were right about in the beginning. The best way to control this thing is just not to be around a lot of other people like that, right? And I think if you're not around a lot of other people like that, then droplets can't get from person to person.
Now, let me stop you just for a second. When it comes to what you said about being around other people like that. So is that okay that people are going to restaurants now? Like, even though they're doing things like 20% of capacity, 30% capacity. I mean, Atlanta notwithstanding, we all know Atlanta's open. That's another story. But like, what is the thoughts? Like, okay, you said don't be around a lot of people. So doesn't that mean I could just go to an indoor restaurant? What's the problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of things about indoor activity in general. I think a lot of the problems with indoor activity are the lack of air. So there are circumstances where you can be inside, not around a lot of people, and be perfectly fine. So groceries, people got to get their groceries. I think it's been hard to be able to do that. A lot of it is about the air circulation, and that's where I mean, Tatiana, you're a engineering geek, so so the air, like the kind of like the fluid dynamics and air engineering people actually have begun to kind of chime into this debate. So the notion, basically airflow and kind of the way that works inside of places, ventilation is now kind of one of the most important things to consider. So a place that the real danger is places where you're indoors and air is very stagnant. And in that kind of situation, someone's speaking and they're generating aerosol particles and they're just sitting around and traveling. If you have sufficient airflow in a setting, right, where air is kind of moving out and circulating in a way, right, you're basically getting rid of those particles and new air is coming in and the odds of transmission are significantly lower. Now, what I can't tell you is, okay, you can have 10 people in this restaurant or 5 people in this one. I can't give you a number on that. But what I can tell you is that, and I don't think anybody can firmly tell you one way or another, what we can say is that places where there's no air circulation are extremely dangerous. And generally speaking, indoor activity as a whole is just not a good idea if you can prevent it. Now, obviously, some businesses, again, grocery stores, we've had to deal with that. Under those circumstances, right, and I think related to that become the defining intervention thing, which really was just getting started when we talked last time, and that's the mask. That's the institution of the mask. The mask kind of like was a big deal when we talked in April, and it's become the defining thing for this because the idea there is even if you have to be indoors.
No, keep going.
Okay.
You got something to say about the mask.
Okay. All right. So, generating the particles, right? You're preventing, right, that spreading event. And I think, the data now are coming back and they're much, much stronger on the efficacy of masks. So that's the thing about indoors. Let me just shut up there.
Oh, no. I had nothing really to add to it at all on that. I feel like it's just incredible that this country has made masks such a political topic.
I would never believe it to be a political and
I would.
I mean, I do now, but in the beginning, when you're telling me I could have this thing to save my life and that's all it's there for, it's not a discriminatory thing. It's not. It's what are these people calling it? They said that you're infringing on my rights. Like, this is none of that. Nigga, if you put this on, you you will prevent or lower the percentages that you can die or give someone the virus that they can die from. That's all it is. And maybe it's because, and this goes back to what I said in the beginning, it's because this is such an individual-centric country that people don't care. Not everybody, but a lot of people just don't care about others. It's just like, well, what about me? And what about my comfort? And da-da-da-da-da. And what about this? I love they try to trot out the HIPAA rule. What about HIPAA rule so-and-so, which is false. But what about my rights as a patient? Like, ma'am,
the Hippocratic Oath?
No, they said all sorts of things. They were citing all sorts of... Listen, they cited
that's got nothing to do with that.
That's my point. But they cited all sorts of things to try to get to say, oh well, they said, well, as a patient, I don't need to do this because section 245 says this, and it's just like, nah, bro, you just making shit up because you don't want to wear a mask. I understand when like some people say that, oh, they have trouble breathing and all this other stuff, but it's also just like, but you can't have it both ways. You can't say you're having trouble breathing, but then also want to go to fucking Fridays and have a mozzarella stick. Like, which one is it, bro?
Breathe.
Like, which one is it? You can't have it both ways. You mentioned the mask. Listen, you mentioned, and again, let me just also make that other point. What I had said about like, this being an individual-based society in the U.S. anyway. Because I'm actually very used to the way they do it in the East, relatively speaking, that wearing masks is it's just what it is. It's like, and you see when people are sick, the culture is wear a mask because you don't want to get other people sick. And for me, this made even more sense. Living in New York, being on a train all the time, I actually love the idea of wearing a mask because the train is nasty.
Yeah.
And I understand not everyone lives like that. Not everyone lives in a big, huge area with a lot of people or even use mass transit like that. But just the thought of like what they call it is like, remember at one point we were walking around with raw face. We was just raw face everywhere we go, just getting particles from germs and all sorts of shit.
Yep.
So much smart stuff in there. I mean, the weird thing is, I feel really bad in some way. Well, in a type of way. I feel bad for the people who have the problem with masks because the reason why masks became so politicized is because of this deep anti-science instrument machine that started at the top. I think if he hadn't said that, if he hadn't been demonstrably anti-virus for a long time, right? I think, right, it would have been different. There's nothing about the mask that they have a problem with. It's what the mask symbolizes because of the messaging from 45. Mm-hmm. And that's the real wild thing here. We've had to work through all this and build all this knowledge and get all this public health messaging and develop this vaccine. It's like, it's really like some sci-fi shit where it's like, we're doing it against the regime. It's really like doing it in the middle of the empire.
Yeah,
where like they're actively undermining the science, like not passively, actively spreading disinformation and not misinformation, disinformation. Like actively giving bad information to mislead us from the truth. So in some ways, it's like, so when the people are being stupid about the masks, yes, it's because they're individual, all these bad values we have, but it's also because the people at the top are telling them actively wrong and harmful things. So my point is, there's so many things at work here that have worked against the promotion of science. It's just, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, like you said, it's like they put Order 66 out on information.
Yeah.
Like, they straight up killed off information.
Kill
like,
all the younglings.
Yeah.
Kill all the data.
And the younglings.
Crazy to have the debates I find myself in, my colleagues find themselves in. It's not 5G anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. They forgot about that one.
Yeah, I forgot about. But someone said it on Twitter. They said, I will never, and I agree. They said, I will never forget the fact that y'all niggas said that the 5G signals was gonna kill you.
No, I remember a friend of mine said to me, the media said that there was to be 250,000 people dead. And it's only been like this amount. And we're in the hospitals are empty.
200,000? Like, what do you mean?
We are easily at 250,000 now. But this was earlier on when, and you think it's going, and I'm like, you don't get it. It's going to get there. Like, so if you keep acting like this.
People didn't see others dropping like flies in the street. It wasn't real.
I've said that since the beginning. That has been one of the biggest problems. I said that like if.
No,
listen. It's not even like that. It's not even that people, because people know people who are dropping now, but it's how you drop. You go to the hospital and then you vanish. It's not one of them things like Ebola where when you catch Ebola, niggas, everyone around you will be like, oh shit, and it will just you waste away in some horrible shit. But this was something where it's like you won't, they don't see the horror. The only people who see the horrible shit are the hospitals. Because by that point, you're in the hospital and then you're dead. So it's like, we don't see the horrible shit. So people just think, oh, he was coughing, then he got sick, then he was gone. And there's still, and 250,000, as morbid as it sounds, it's still not enough considering the amount of people in America where it's not like every person knows someone personally.
Yet,
You know
what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yet we're not there yet, but I mean,
No.
it's looking bad.
I know.
And even counter to that, I feel like they do. They're probably 2 degrees of separation from it, but
Yes.
I feel like they do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, and again, I just feel like, how do you establish any kind of? And we've never dealt with anything like this, where like science has had to really, it's been a fight. It's like the science alone is hard enough. It's hard enough to actually do this work and do the public health work and do the epidemiology and now you have to make the discovery, make a breakthrough, and then fight just to kind of have it land on open ears. So it's like it's fighting the disease and then fighting this other disease, which is the ignorance and the disinformation. So it's wild.
Yeah. Since we've mentioned masks, there was different information at the time about what kind of masks were effective. I know that's changed over time. In fact, I remember when there was all this big, huge thing about the N95 masks, even masks with like different breathing valves and stuff. And now I'm seeing something different.
Mm-hmm.
So as a regular standard person that's not on the front lines of a hospital or anything like that, what kind of mask should I be wearing?
Yeah, I think where we've landed is that like even a cloth mask, like any cloth mask or mask with a filter. Masks with filters are like better, technically at filtering particles. But even a kind of regular cloth mask is effective at kind of blocking the generation of the size of droplet that we associate with transmission. And so the message has been inclusive in that way. Like really, you can make people that want to make them. So I think the messaging hasn't been so religious about about the type of mask. I think it's more about how you wear them. I think that one has been kind of the bigger one. So the people that aren't doing it over their nose, that's still a thing. So I think that's
take it off to sneeze or
take it off to sneeze. Yeah, it's just So that's been. I think it's more. There was a little bit of debate about the neck thing. What do you call that? The neck gaiter, gaiter, and that hasn't really stood up to a lot of scrutiny. So I think there's a preference. The N95 mask or masks with a layer of filter. Yeah, those are the optimal ones. Those are best at being able to shield the particles of the size that transmit. But really, any style of mask worn consistently in kind of around other people is kind of appropriate. It's good enough, at least in New York and where I live, good enough to get you require a mask. That's good enough to kind of participate in most activities.
Yeah, because I was at the doctor's office last week and I saw a sign and it wasn't N95, it was just like those masks with the valves that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Filters rather. They were like, if you're wearing this mask, we're still gonna give you a surgical mask to put over it. So I've seen people double up and all sorts of things and they explained it that those specific masks with those filters, while they protect you, they don't protect others. It protects the air coming in, but if you coughing and carrying on, it's still.
Where did you see that sign?
I was in the doctor's office.
Okay, yeah. So right. Yeah. So in healthcare settings,
they're
going to be a bit right. They're going to be a bit more, as they should.
Planes too. You can't fly with those either. You can't fly with the mask with the filters.
Yeah.
So you have to be like doubled up.
You have to be doubled up, or you have to have a mask that. You can have another. You can have a mask with a double layer. Mm-hmm. No way for virus to get out and not in.
Okay, but on a normal everyday, like you said, going to the grocery store or whatever, as long as you have some type of cloth covering.
Yeah, a cloth cover. These people that are, everybody's making them now. Just like we said a long time ago, everybody's made them. They become high fashion. Yeah, those are. I reckon it really is an inclusive message. It isn't hard for people to get involved, and I think if people just if everybody just wore regular cloth masks that they made themselves or got from the corner store, we'd be in good shape.
Right.
That's how I think about it.
And I personally love masks. I love them. Like once we started wearing them, because I had an N95 in the beginning and then those ran out. But like I've been wearing cloth masks and I think it's just another accessory for me. At least that's how I've been looking at it. And I'm definitely even beyond the end of this, wherever we are in right now, the panoramic. When we even through this, I'm still wearing a mask because I actually like it. I like people not being able to see me. Number one, I don't want to be bothered, but also I just like the fact that it's that level of protection, particularly with large groups. I'm not doing raw face no more.
Raw face.
Yeah. All right. Now, question. I've seen.
Sorry. I'm listening.
I've seen video of like one question I have is, first off, people have already said that the whole temperature checking thing isn't really, that's not really helping anything because too many people can be asymptomatic or anything, right? All right, so boom, that's a done question. But then the second question or thing that I've seen is like, I think it was Thailand, where they're having like large scale concerts and shit now. Like, people are gathering and you're still, yeah.
Well,
it's Atlanta over there. Okay.
No, but it's not even like Atlanta. They waited till their rates were so low that,
Look, but that's the real crazy thing here. I don't recommend that kind of stuff anywhere, but I have a colleague who has a trainee who's Korean, and he's in Korea, and they're going to see their families and
I think it's Korea, right?
Kind of like fine. And I think there is a model, or there was a model in place for a society to have this thing and have a somewhat reasonably open society. Like, you know what I mean? Like there were models for that to be the case. The United States situation took off and got so bad in a hurry with no intervention at all that became completely unrealistic. So Ben, I'm just like you, where I'm like, I look at all these places. It's horrifying to think, or it's crazy to think that there's any setting that's had this virus at all where you can have a concert. But like, these places have had like dozens of cases over the course of months.
So they've had it under control for so long.
They've had it under control. And again, I can't recommend like large, like being in a club or anything like that. But
if they got so much
different
than
Georgia, where you have like these skyrocketing rates in many settings. So I think to Tatiana's early point, things that we've learned about like the way this is getting around. But I think another thing that's changed is just the very large bifurcation in the successes and failures around the world. Like the United States has it was already at the point where it was emerging as the worst at the point we talked earlier. But now it's just like, I don't even understand. I don't even know what the analogy is. I don't know if there's a sport where I don't know if there's a Michael. It's like better than Michael. It's like bigger than Michael Jordan. The gap between him and LeBron. Like we have become the defined. We're really the only. We're like the heavyweight champion of this thing. Several kind of orders over. So the point is, and there's many parts of the world now that are
they're kind of right behind it.
Kind of doing all right. And now Europe has had problems again. So there's a little bit of a Sweden's had problems again. All these places have had a lot of. They kind of let their guard down too early, and they're going to be dealing with this for a while, but nowhere like us.
The heavyweight champion of the Rona.
Yeah, we're Michael Jordan in the 1980s, like 1990s.
No, we really are. It's shocking.
1990s, really. We're in the 90s. Six rings for us. No rings for anybody else.
So ghetto.
Yeah, so no rings for anyone else. We'll take all them chips.
It's shocking. It's shocking how
we're the Golden State.
Much worse.
Yeah,
and the most by far and away the most anti-science of any westernized nation. Not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close. We're the most anti-science. It's an embarrassment. The part of me that is patriotic is just embarrassed. You know what I'm saying?
I don't have those parts.
Well, you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And like whatever part is like you want to be proud, whatever, you know what I mean?
So we've come to this point where, the masks up, keep the social distancing up, believe in science, stay away from large groups of people as much as possible. We talked about, not you today, but in general, we talked about contact tracing, quarantining. We're all used to that. We're actually, seems like everyone's about to go right back into quarantine again. I know with New York, they've updated the schedule. So like just going out, everything closes at 10 now. And it's kind of reminiscent of what it was in the beginning. And it seems like it's gonna accelerate like that again across the country.
So
go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, no, just for our listeners and stuff, like what are the best things they can do right now? Because we know that a lot of people want to go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. I don't know why y'all do. Like, honestly, like,
you want to kill your peoples? I
get it. I get it. Everybody love their family, but at the same time, Christmas and Thanksgiving are the most stressful times to see your family normally.
Yeah.
Do you really want to add on to that? Like,
And I say that, and I know people will be like, "Oh, you're being so extra," saying, "Oh, you dragging it. Oh, kill my peoples." No, dead ass. You can kill your peoples, and that's not computing. And perhaps it goes back to what Ben was saying about this being almost like this is invisible enemy, and the way that people don't quite see what's going on. People go in the hospital and they're gone. There's no lead up really, unless you're close to that family or close to that member. But I don't know how else that can be drilled into everyone's head. The severity of this.
So I'll try to. I mean, it makes me very angry. But I'll try to and let's we've all done this in terms of being empathetic. In terms of what's going on with this disease, and the social distancing is coming at a huge psychological cost to people. And I'm listening to y'all. I heard it in y'all voice. You know what I'm saying? Just in this show, it's everybody's been affected deeply, and family is one of the only things you have, and people haven't done it in all this time. You have people that haven't seen their grandchildren who were born during this thing. I mean, it's rough.
Yeah.
You got, what I'm saying? I know when I have grandkids.
Grandnephew. I haven't seen.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, and that's really, really rough. And the stories get more extreme than that, right? There are people who are, So what I'm saying to say is, whoa, do I understand that desire and need to kind of have human contact. But two things I'll say is, number one, what Tatiana said is just spot on. If people come back together in high numbers, which a lot of people are planning, you are going to see a large number. You're going to see localized outbreaks, and then the travel back and forth. Basically, you're just going to see new epidemics in all these other places, which is a disaster. And I think the vaccine news, what that should do, like I said, it's early, but it's not that early. It's early, but it's not that early. What the idea there is, just hold on 6 months or so. I mean, I have colleagues who think we could be rolling this thing out as early as the spring. I'm not going to be that optimistic. I'd say more like at the earliest would be, May or June or July is more me, right? But some people think April or May, if we just hold on and we're able to roll this vaccine out. I mean, there is a model in place where by summer we're able to travel again. I think that's not a crazy idea. If we're able to kind of roll out this vaccine in large numbers, which it's possible given the way it's made. So a lot of empathy for people, but I mean, there's going to be big outbreaks from travel, and I think we just hope people are responsible and can just hold out one more season, so that we can get to the other side of this thing, and then just have a crunk. We can all just go off. That's my thing. I'm just going off, in the summertime. But it's rough.
Don't tell people that, People will go off. People will go. I know, but they will go off.
They're already going off the compound.
If everybody gets shots, they can go off where they want to. That's what I'm saying. If we get this thing, or if we vaccinate, it's going to be layers and levels to it. Healthcare workers first, the elderly and long-term care facilities. I want to see incarcerated individuals get access to it. I want to see people who I think who need it because they're not able to social distance. But if we do that, there's a model. The fact that there's so many different vaccines that are successful is a really, really, really good sign. It means the technology is smart, and they're converging on kind of similar results. I think is very, very promising.
All right, now 2 questions on that.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you might say it. Go ahead, Ben.
Okay, one is related to the vaccine, and me and you were talking on this the other day about people's resistance and iron peoples.
Here we go.
Iron peoples.
To getting shots. Like I was telling a professor, this is about 10 years ago now, though. Actually, a little more than that. But the first time I went to Ethiopia, I got several shots to prepare. One, I know it was for malaria. I'm not sure what the rest were for. Yeah, probably yellow fever and a bunch. Yeah. They ruined me. Like I had sores, I had bruises. It was bad. I was done in for like the first 2 weeks that I was there, just messed up. So I'm not a fan of vaccines. I don't get flu shots. I don't eat. I take care of, my health as much as I possibly can. I do believe that that's another problem that, especially in this country, we don't focus on our health. We focus on cures and solutions and, trying to get things, but we don't focus on preventative enough, and keeping your health up and keeping your, vitamin C count, all et cetera, eating the right foods and all that. And so I'm not one looking forward to rolling up, especially being a Black person and to getting that first wave of vaccines,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have similar concerns to Ben, but a little slightly different. I'm a huge fan of vaccines. Like, I went to Thailand and I had to get, like, I'm looking this up here. I had to get like the shot for hepatitis, again, yellow fever. I think I had to get like typhoid shot or whatever. And thankfully, my body processed it without any issue. As far as I knew, maybe my arm got swollen, but the area, and then I was good. So I personally don't have much adverse reactions. So I'm not afraid of that. But for something that's so brand new and being Black and not trusting their intentions, especially because right now all this stuff has still been developed under this administration. And again, not to say that I know a lot of people could see that like, oh, Tati, that's very conspiracy theory. I get it. But it's like I have a low level of trust.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not so much not wanting, like, I will take it if it's safe and all that other stuff, but I'd rather someone else go first.
Yeah. Well, no. So both, obviously, y'all know I understand all that. Okay, I think you're articulating slightly different issues. So Ben, I'm gonna make fun of you a little bit. So Ben is just an outright anti-vaxxer, right? And
pretty much
Tatiana.
But I would also like, if I had children,
I think you have kind of nuanced views on this new vaccine being rolled out that was developed rapidly under 45's administration, right? I think, and I think there's always valid concerns there. So you were saying something, Ben.
No, I would just say that I don't know. I'm pretty anti-vaxxer.
Yeah. So
I don't think you're going to be in the streets, with your sign, but.
Look, to be honest, I'll be honest with you. I mean, and Ben, I know there's nuance to the way you feel, but frankly, I got to be honest. I mean, I'm not sure there's a large difference between people who are anti-vaxxers and the anti-mask people. The science on vaccines is better than the science on masks. So there's no reason why you are you should be anti-vax. You should be.
What about the idea of antibiotics building up in our systems and creating super viruses and super?
I don't even understand the basis for that. No, that's legacy virus from X Factor. That's not comic book. That's not science as I know it.
You don't believe that too much antibiotics are building up viruses? Like, the fact that we rely on so many antibiotics for every single thing we have? Like,
well, antibiotics are different, right? So antibiotics are chemical compounds that kill bacterial infections.
Yep.
And what you're talking about correctly is the notion of resistant bacteria that are no longer able to be treated by the drugs that we use. That's one thing. I think vaccines are another entirely different branch of science, entirely different technology. So you said something, you articulated yourself beautifully. You said resistant, you said, taking care of yourself, right? We're big on cures and we're big on and that's totally right. That's totally right. We need to do more things. The part of the reason why you haven't had an issue is because you're healthy and you take care of yourself. And I think if you do that, that's kind of one of the best things. We've seen that manifest in COVID, right? Predisposed conditions, having diabetes, having these things are really associated with worse disease. I'm going to tell you right now, one of the greatest, perhaps the single greatest preventative thing we've ever come up with is the vaccine. That's precisely what it does. It is a thing that's specifically engineered to prevent an individual from getting infected. And in fact, it's the only way we've ever come close to eradicating an infectious disease from Earth.
Yeah.
Smallpox only exists largely in freezers so that we can, when we go to war with each other eventually. So the countries have them as bioweapons. But in terms of a disease,
it's not really a thing.
Polio,
polio is like, we've put our foot way up in polio's ass, which is kind of pun intended because polio is a fecal oral disease. Measles. We've had all of these spectacular successes. Now, again, that doesn't mean it's perfect. That doesn't mean, right? But hell, there are people who take aspirin and have massive allergic reactions, almost die.
Yeah.
And that is the nature of being a living thing, right? And there are people who can't drink orange juice, You know, there's people who can't do anything. And so I think, unfortunately, what happened with vaccines, there's a whole kind of saga about how that one got screwed up. It was basically right how that happened with the autism stuff. And that was retracted and disproven multiple times. But the point is, once you tried out bullshit, y'all know. You know what I'm saying? Bullshit outruns cheetahs. You know what I'm saying? You can't catch it. Or what is that rule? I forget what it is. You know, bullshit takes orders of magnitude more energy to refute it than to generate it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like once you lie, and so the that thing. So, and I think for Black people, it's different. I think with the anti-vax thing for Black people, because of the Tuskegee experiment, because of our distrust of the government, which we shouldn't trust, because we don't trust the medical establishment, which we shouldn't, it played into our notions that we shouldn't trust these things. And I think, and that's where that sentiment comes. And I understand that. So I understand where Ben's coming from, but we are the ones that stand to benefit from a vaccine the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, and we really, 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 and I think if we love our family and we loved our loved ones, we'll get the shot. If you know what I'm saying. Now to your point, Tatiana, if it's effective, and we'll talk about that now. If it's effective. Now, what does that mean? I think your point concern is more nuanced. This thing is new. How do you know new things, right? You might find things 5 years down the line. I think that's a valid concern. I think the technology that we're using to generate this is new and different and better and safer. So it's an mRNA vaccine. What that means is it's not like old vaccines where you use actual like weakened virus. So
like live version
that will weaken virus. And I think, Ben, that's the one I'm with you. Like that's scary because it's like, this is the actual virus. It's a weakened version, but it's the actual virus. And are there situations where this virus can mutate and cause the actual disease? I mean, that doesn't really happen very often, but I can understand the logical connection there.
That's the one I feel like I got when I went to Africa.
No. And I think, and we can talk about that because I don't know which I feel you. I mean, part of the issue and the reason why you get so many shots when you go to places like you're probably in Ethiopia or Eritrea, and I was in Kenya. I've been around the world and got things. It's because the diseases are. You think that was bad? Try getting yellow fever.
No, I know. My sister has been to Nigeria and gotten it'll mess you up.
So it's like, so I'm sure it was bad for you there, and I'm not minimizing your experience because I think in it, at all. I'm not minimizing.
But no, I did not have yellow fever, and I had a great time.
You had a great time. So
you have malaria, you had a great time.
You know what I'm saying? Let's put this in perspective. So
I had some bruises on the arm, but they healed. Yeah.
But I think, to Tatiana's point, I think that this is an mRNA vaccine, which means you're not actually injecting the live virus. You're not even injecting a piece of the virus. Remember I talked about back in, you're not even doing that. You're getting the part of the genome of this is wild shit. It's part of the genome of the virus. Your body produces the protein and your body reacts to that. So you're not even sending around the actual virus. You're just sending around the information. So you're just basically sending your body the instructions. Like, you see that genomic code for that protein? That's the thing you want to look out for. And it's like, it's safer because you're not actually injecting any real virus. My battery popping here. Good. No it's safer because you're not actually injecting any real virus. It's easier to manufacture. It's easier to manufacture because you don't have to actually make real virus. You just have to make kind of like, it's easier to kind of say, for example, we decided in 6 months that it's, we wanted a different there was a different strain or something like that. It's easy to swap that out. It's like better in all levels. Now we've never had an approved version hit the market of this kind of vaccine because we had a similar one for Ebola, I think. And the problem was Ebola like ceased to become a problem before we could roll out, you know what I'm saying? So like, but for now, this is the first kind of major mRNA based vaccine. And I think in terms of safety, right, I think that's the key thing that Tatiana and Benhameen, I think we're all interested in.
Safety.
One of the things that they've had to do to get approved now is you have to have diverse population in your clinical trial. In fact, that delayed one of the early vaccines from being able to report their results. They didn't have enough Black and Latinx folks in the trial. It was because that's the thing. I mean, people try everything on white people, and they're like, it works, and then you know what I'm saying.
But what about us?
What about us? You know what I'm saying. So I think one of the main trials, it was 20% Latinx folks, which is complicated because they can look like us, they can look like whatever. But but it was 10% like people who identified as black folks. You know what I'm saying? So the distribution of the people in the trial looked about the same, right, as the United States. Or at least it was representative of a diverse there was a diverse population set, and I think the results were very, very strong. I mean, I think they were only a fraction of individuals. I think the main finding was there was only a fraction of individuals who came down with serious illness, and all of the people with serious illness were in the placebo group, as in they didn't get vaccine at all. So basically, this thing prevents serious illness. This is a death. This is something that really, really, really protects against like serious illness and death. So let me stop there. Mm-hmm.
So, and I just want to make a really simple analogy to understand what you just said about what this vaccine is. It's what you said before. You're not injecting the live virus. You're not even injecting a piece of the virus, a weakened version, nothing. What it is more so, it's an injection of the instructions to your body to say, hey man, when or if COVID-19 tries to come up in here, this is how you get them out the paint.
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly right. And I think that the piece that it encodes, that this piece of genetic information encodes, is the part of the virus that sits on the outside, this protein that sits on the outside that the body can see.
Yeah. Okay.
That the body can see. So it basically tells you, when you see somebody wearing this hat, you see somebody with this bandana.
Right.
Remember we talked about the famous no.
Have you seen the Gucci bandana?
The papoose.
Yeah, the
papoose. You know what I'm saying?
Papoose is the white blood cell, but no, I hear you.
Papoose stand on the banister. That's what it does. Because Papoose has never seen me with the bandana before, but he knows what to look out for.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Your body now knows what to look out for because of these instructions. And it's kind of amazing technology that, and again, now there's going to be other ones. There's going to be other versions of the vaccine. There's going to be ones that actually use the actual protein. There's going to be some maybe that even use a weakened virus, even though I don't think that we call that attenuated virus vaccine. I'm not aware of any of those in the pipeline for this.
But the ones that have been announced are
the ones that have been announced are the mRNA, the instruction-based ones. There's going to be more, and maybe those are more effective. But I don't know. We don't know yet. There's going to be a lot more data rolling out. Okay. But I think the concerns about safety are valid. I think the early data look extremely strong. Nobody who got serious disease, right, got the actual vaccine. And I think it's hard to think about a better early set of results than that. But we should remain vigilant. We should remain vigilant. We should continue to scrutinize the data and be mindful. But they were handing this out tomorrow. I'll be out there. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you that much.
That does make me feel better to know that.
Yeah.
I mean, you are an expert, but also like, you're someone we know you're a friend, and you saying, yo, it's okay. That does allay some fears. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it's like a lot of people, myself included, don't have someone they look at and trust and be like, for them to be like, yo, it's fine. Lots of times that's all you need. Like, that's all people need to hear, someone they know and trust or love or whatever, to be like, it's fine.
Well, this is why I appreciate y'all giving me this platform. That's the idea here. I mean, and to the political point you made about like who we should trust. So there's Operation Warp Speed, which is from the federal government, which was from 45 and the 40, to kind of rapidly. And I think that was the right move, right, for what it's worth. But one of the vaccines, one of the major ones we got results from, had nothing to do. If you notice, remember, those results came out like the day after the election was announced.
Yeah.
And then people were like, "Oh, give credit to 45," and it was a 5. And the person one of the head of that company was like, "We had nothing to do. We didn't get $1 from the federal."
So that was just them doing.
That was us. Now, one of them did get money from the federal government. One of them completely did not. You know what I'm saying? And so my point is, I understand the cynicism there. There's actually a black woman who's one of the top people at the NIAID's vaccine centers, a young black woman.
Wow.
Yeah. So my point is, they got, and Fauci that's all Fauci. So even though it's under 45, it's like anything, right? Even when it's like, we've all had whack jobs with whack bosses, you know what I'm saying? But there's like dope people who work there still, you know what I'm saying?
Dope managers.
Yeah, dope managers. And I think that's what it is. So Fauci still runs the show at the NIAID, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. They were the ones really, really, really at the controls here. And so I wouldn't necessarily fear 45's meddling, in the actual results itself. I think 45 wanted the vaccine before Election Day, obviously. And that didn't quite happen. So.
All right. I'm thinking,
I'm just letting this process.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, is there anything? Because you already mentioned one other question I had about mutations. Because I saw recently they were talking about how there was a mutated, much more contagious.
Thank you for that.
More deadly form of the virus. So yeah, is that the case?
So that's one I was kind of wrong on. So remember early on, they were like, "Oh, there's a strain here, there's a strain there, there's a strain," and I was like, "Ah."
Yeah, I remember.
And I think that was the correct viewpoint for me and colleagues. It turns out now we think there is a mutation that is associated with increased contagion, not necessarily deadlier though.
Mm-hmm.
It's just easier.
Not necessarily just easier to train. Yeah. In fact, maybe less deadly. But maybe the data are still unclear there. But we think probably slightly increased contagion. It's a mutation. We think maybe it allows it to bind to cells better. So I think that's emerged. So I think there is a population structure. You have this, but it's not like crazy. It's not like every city has their own version. Mm-hmm. It's just that there are some. So you're correct, Ben. I mean,
could you imagine there was a Chicago version?
I definitely don't want the Atlanta version right now.
It'd be like rap. It'd be like
whatever the ATL version is. I do not want that. Yeah, I do not want that one right now.
The photos from that nightclub. That my heart.
The one last night with that rapper Mulatto, who I was just hearing about as of today, and just the whole concept and everything that's terrible about life right now. But yeah, seeing the video of people showing up to listen to that rap was. I mean, like, I listened to some terrible rap as a kid, but like, damn, like, I wouldn't go see any of them in concert, you know? Like, if you were ass, I just listened to you at home. Like, I didn't,
I will say, though, as a whole, black folks are better about this thing, you know what I'm saying, than white people. Like, when it comes to, I know it's hard to believe.
I say black women are.
Yeah, black women, no, that's
yeah,
right.
I'll say that.
That's
yeah.
right. No, fair enough. That's right.
Yeah,
we got a long way to go. All of us.
We got a long way to go. Men in general, we got a long way to go.
We got a long way to go.
Yeah.
No, I think so. Any other anything burning questions? Any other things y'all that you think people might want to know that we're lost or confused or upset about? I got all
I think that's it. I really just want to make sure our listeners, understand and they know they can reach out to you and to us, but. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's the simplicity of it. It's the fact that if everyone just wore masks and stayed home for like 3 weeks, but I understand for a lot of people and a lot of our listeners, staying home is impossible because you have to go out and make money. You have to do something. And the federal government gave us $1,200 and said, hold that,
I even get that, bro.
I ain't either. Trust. So, yeah.
The smartest thing many of us did to do something about it was looks like we did our job, and that was vote.
Yeah.
That has just spectacular consequences, saying, assuming things and for how this disease is gonna go.
I was gonna leave y'all in America, folks. I ain't even gonna lie.
I mean,
I was ready to dip.
Yeah.
I'm ready to dip.
ForAllNerds would have been a international operation because my asses don't be out.
Baby, the first thing smoking on the first country letting an American in.
Yeah.
Me. Brandon, you have things have also changed with you personally. Like you're at a new place now. Can you just let people know just about what you're doing now and the stuff that you can talk about and like the projects you're involved in?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for that. So I've moved. I'm now a professor at Yale University. Assistant professor at Yale University.
Say it with your chest, son. Say it with your chest.
They was on bass in your voice, yo.
Yeah.
Professor at Yale University.
Well, and a lot of my work remains the same. I study infectious disease, and I'm curious. I'm trying to understand the forces that influence how they evolve. So the question about these questions about mutations in SARS-CoV-2, my lab is interested in that. This question about whether or not it's getting through via aerosols or on the surfaces, my group's interested in that, and not just in SARS-CoV-2, but for a lot of other. I'm interested in kind of smart ways we can treat infectious diseases. Mm-hmm. So I do a lot of that type of work, and my lab now is growing to do that, and so I'm very, very excited. I'm excited to be closer to New York City. So eventually when this is all done, we can all get together and hang out. And I continue to do stuff at the intersection between science and society, and just trying to make sure people are informed and try to make some of this stuff that's so complicated and that we think are not unlike Hollywood and that are the only domain of white men for generations can be translated and accessible to a broader number of communities. So that's also a central part of what I do. And, part of Don't Stop. That's why people like you all are so important in this fight. And I'm just thrilled and honored that I've been able to work with y'all.
Oh, man,
Thank you so much.
you.
And we're very honored that you are here. Like the fact that we get to talk to an expert, right? Like I want to say in our
professor
backyard.
at Yale University.
Like we got the big guns, and the fact that you can share this information in a way that everybody can understand as well, like that matters, and in a way that people can relate to. Skin folk, you know what I mean? Like we
That's what I mean. That's why I do it. I mean, we all come from, we're all bison, which is, related.
Mm-hmm.
That's not why I'm here, right? But I think it's not unrelated to all of our mission. We all have this mission, and I think we all fight the fight our own way. And y'all are doing such. You're the best at what you're doing.
Thank you, sir. So where can people find you if they want to talk to you online?
Big_data_Kane Kane on the socials. And you can see my information there, access to my lab webpage, the papers that I'm publishing, the work that I'm doing can be found there. The writing that I do, I'm a columnist for Wired. So I write about kind of technology and science and race and stuff like that, and for Wired magazine and other places. You can find my work there. Reach out if you have any questions. Hopefully, like I said, we'll get on some games soon. I'm trying to flourish on my PS5 situation, like Tatiana there. I'm trying to flourish. I'm trying to come up. I'm trying to have my come uppets, so that I can get on these sticks with y'all and we can talk about stuff there. I'm trying to do things regularly on Twitch and stuff. So hopefully that'll happen soon.
Yep.
Dope. So thank you again, Brandon Ogbunu, Professor Brandon Ogbunu, for joining us. Again, has been myself, Tatiana King, along with DJ Benhameen. As usual, you can always find us all over the interwebs at ForAllNerds. You can also find me individually at Tatiana King. My partner up top or left or wherever he's going to appear when you watch this is at DJ Benhameen. And also, if you have questions, like maybe there was more questions you had about this, you want to drop us a note, hit us up, contact@forallnerds.com. And also, I have to say, especially if you enjoyed this conversation and all the conversations we've been having, you can support us by sharing, you can support us by subscribing and following us, and you can also support us by hitting our Patreon, patreon.com/ForAllNerds, and toss a coin to your Witcher, if you will, toss a coin to your podcast there. We appreciate it.